Welcome to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom on leadership, goal setting, and productivity. I'm so glad that you joined us today. Consider this a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and spirit. And then if you haven't already done so, wherever it is that you download podcasts, please subscribe. And if you are in the mood, I'd love for you to leave an honest review. Today, I want to give you a quote from one of my favorite writers, Dr. Samuel Chand. And it's a quote on leadership when he simply says, "If you're leading, you're bleeding." The reason I like this statement is not because I like to bleed, but the fact that many people have a romanticized view of leadership. That I'm the leader, I'm the boss, top down, I'll tell you what to do, you will jump at anything that I say. I have all of these people wanting to help me. And going into leadership, there is this romanticized idea that this is what leadership looks like, this is what people will do, and they all just love me immensely. The fact is, leadership is hard. It's not impossible, but it's hard. And if you're the leader and you're out front and you're doing the tough things that go along with being a leader, not everyone will be happy. Not everyone will like everything that you do. Not everyone will agree with your decision, especially if you're asking a group or an institution to change. Change usually is painful for most people. And so let's look at that for a moment. What does it mean if you're leading, you're bleeding? Well, it just means this. There is a price to be paid for being a leader. I love being a leader. I love every aspect of it. I can't say that I love every painful encounter that goes along with it. But make no mistake, there is a price to be paid if you're leading. If you are leading in anything, there is just an absolute price to be paid. There's another quote that I like that comes from Robert J. Clinton. In his early writings, he was just Bobby Clinton. He writes on leadership, especially in a Christian context. He says it sort of the same way, but with a different slant. He says, never trust a leader who doesn't limp. Simply meaning that as a leader, you're going to get in a few battles. Somebody may as well tell you right up front, there'll be some battles. There again is a price to pay, but there's a price to pay for everything in life. If you just decide to vegetate and be a couch potato, there's a price to pay for that. If you decide not to use the talents and gifts that God has given to you, or to make something of yourself, or to get out and do something, there's a price to be paid for doing nothing. So don't think that the choice is I'm going to be a leader and have to pay a price, or I can just not be a leader and just sort of coast through life. There is hardly a coast lifestyle. And a leader, because ultimately you can look at all the data, you can listen to everybody, you can pray, you can work with a group, but ultimately, if you're the leader, you're the one charged with making the ultimate decision. In the position that I hold today, I am usually called in to mediate when there's a difficult situation. And I'm usually called in after all of the easy solutions have been tried and didn't work. Matter of fact, I one time described, I get called in after the horse has been let out of the barn and the horse has been ground into meat and the barn has been burned to the ground, and they call me in and say, now you help fix this. So when you're a leader, it's not just quarterbacks and football teams and football coaches who have Monday morning quarterbacks. If you're going to be a leader and you're out front, I'm just telling you, there'll be a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks who will say, well, if I was leading, I wouldn't have done that. If I had your job, I wouldn't have done that. If I was in the position to make a decision, I wouldn't have done that. if I had the time, there are times when I say, if you had my job, you'd be unemployed. It's always easy. The only job any of us seem to know how to do is a job we don't have and someone else has it. Here's the good news today. You're not responsible to do someone else's job or to take on their responsibilities. You are charged today to do what you are supposed to be. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you the realism of it. The leader who I will listen to is the one who's been in some battles, the ones who have faced discouragement, the ones who have paid a price, frankly, for making those decisions, but they learned something. But even when you learn those things and go through painful circumstances, you're going to be left with a limp. And so when I'm really looking for someone to ask a question of how did you make it through a difficult time, I look for the leader, like Robert J. Clinton says, who has a limp. Somebody who in the crucible of life has made a difficult decision and they know what it's like to come out on the other side. One aspect of leadership that I don't know that anyone really thinks about is you go with the best information you have at that time. If you're a Christian, a follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, then you'll pray about it. You'll do all of those things. But when you are called upon to make a decision, you can only go with the best information that you have at that time. If you're a person who can't make a decision, who can't pull a trigger until you are 100% certain, let me tell you something. Whenever you come to a place where you're 100% certain on a situation, it's too late. When it's 100% certain, anyone can make the right decision. Most of the time, we aren't ever 100% certain, but we go with the best information we have. We listen, we take in information, we kind of wisely put it all down, the pros and cons, but then someday someone has to throw their head back and say, this is the way we're going to go. This is the best decision. Very few decisions are irrevocable, by the way. There are times where you have to step back and say a wise person changes their mind, but a fool never does. If there's more information or things that you weren't aware of that come in later, it's all right to do a mid-course correction or to make adjustments. But going with the theme of if you're leading, you're bleeding, and trust only leaders who have a limp, we have a tendency in life to want to shy away from difficulties and things that are hard. But if you are a leader, you are going to be called to interject yourself and to be involved right in the middle of difficulties and uncertainty. As a matter of fact, let me just say it the way that I say it to people. Difficulty is God's curriculum. He teaches His best lessons when you're going through difficulty. Let's just talk about the Bible for a moment. Anyone in the Bible that God has greatly used, they have gone through difficulties. There is no such thing as a pain-free life. As I reflect back over my times of leading in various capacities and positions and through some difficult situations, I have to say today I'm a better person, I'm a better leader, I'm a better husband, a better father, and a better friend because I've had to walk through some difficult places. Very little do you learn in times of ease and comfort. Now, we all need times of rest, times of recreation. We all need times when the sea is smooth sailing. Let's be honest. The greatest lessons I have ever learned is when I went through a difficulty. That's one of the geniuses of keeping a journal. I love going back and reading the journal, especially when I can remember a particular difficult spot in my life. And when I go back and reread in my journal entries, when I didn't know at that time how it was all going to turn out, It is amazing to see my attitude, my spirit, what I felt I was learning, how I prayed and hoped and worked for it all to turn out. And I'm reading it when I go backwards like that, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, reading something. I know how it all turns out. But I still love to read how I was processing all of it. And friends, if you would just take this exercise and do it today, go back over your life's experience, the greatest lessons you have learned in life, and I will guarantee you that most of them were learned in difficult times. I mentioned a moment ago that there is no such thing as a pain-free life. In everyone's life, pain is inevitable. And you're going to say, Dr. Ron, thank you for sharing today and making us feel terrible. But no, I want you to hear the rest of it. You cannot avoid pain, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard you try to avoid difficulties and pain. Pain is inevitable, but misery is optional. So even when I'm going through a painful time, a difficult time, and I don't know what to do, I still ask the Lord, will you teach me the lesson that you have for me in all of this? And do not make me a miserable person to be around. Do not allow it to just sour my soul and to allow me to become negative. Yes, pain is inevitable for everyone, but misery is optional. And here's the situation. You have the choice. If you're going to be miserable, you will make the choice to be miserable. Or you could say, is this a teaching moment? Is this to take me deeper in my experience? Is this to make me a better leader, a better husband, a better father, a better friend? Then I want to pay attention and learn the lesson that is available to us. If you look back on your life's most defining moments, they always occur in the midst or right after painful experiences. Yes, I've loved the good times and am thankful for them. But the most invaluable lessons that last a lifetime, which bring situations that I can share with others, all came because I was going through some painful experiences and I had to learn new lessons. I had to learn new ways of operating. I had to learn new strategies, and they made me a better person. You see, the choice is yours today, my friend. You're either going to go through life miserable or you're going to be a strong person. And they both take the same amount of time. It doesn't take more time to become a stronger person than it does to be a miserable person. So if it takes the same amount of time to be miserable or to learn and to become a stronger person and a stronger leader, why don't you take the time, make up your mind, I'm going to become a stronger leader, a stronger person through this circumstance. I make that choice to learn valuable lessons going through this. After all, it takes the same amount of time. Go out today and be the leader you are meant to be. Do not shy away from making difficult decisions. Gather the information, make the decisions, and be a leader. And when I see you, if you walk up to me and introduce yourself, I'm going to be looking to see if you're limping. Because if you're limping, I'll know that you have been in the arena and you truly are a leader. Go and have a fantastic day. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. Wherever you download podcasts, please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, and I'll talk to you the next time. Have a great and blessed day.